Problems on sound and its characteristics. Problem 1. A drawing shows a ship 800 meters from a cliff. A gun is fired on the ship. After 5 seconds, the people at the front of the ship hear the sound of the gun again. So, a bang sound is heard. Find A. What is the name of this effect? What is the name of the effect? Wherein after a certain time, the sound is heard. It is echo. So, A, the answer is echo. Now, B, what happens to the sound at the cliff? Because when the gun is fired on the ship towards the cliff, it gets reflected. The sound reaches the cliff and gets reflected. So, sound gets reflected. How far does the sound travel in 5 seconds? Sound travels from the ship to the cliff 800 meters and again back, because for the echo the distance is twice the distance between the objects. So it is 1600 meters it travels, because 800 plus 800. 800 from ship to cliff and cliff back to ship is another 800. So it is 1600 meter. Calculate the speed of the sound. So speed of the sound will be, again, the distance travelled by the sound is 1600 meter by it travelled for how many seconds? 5 seconds. So divided by 5. So on cancellation we get 320 meter per second. Problem 2. In an experiment, John studies sound waves. He sets up a loudspeaker to produce sound as shown below. This is a loudspeaker and John and classroom wall, and there is a air all over. John adjusts the signal to the loudspeaker to give a sound of frequency 200 Hz. So it means that he adjusts the sound in such a way that loudspeaker gives a sound of frequency 200 Hz. Now what happens to the air in between John and the loudspeaker? Since the signal is adjusted to give a frequency of 200 Hz, the air between loudspeaker and John vibrates with a frequency of 200 Hz. So that's what happens. What happens? The air between loudspeaker and John vibrates at a frequency of 200 Hz. Why 200 Hz? Because he adjusted the signal to the loudspeaker to give a sound of frequency 200 Hz. So the air vibrates. The sound is nothing but the sound waves are carried by the vibrations of the air. That is the medium. So that is what happens. Now B. Explain how John receives sound in both ears. See, John receives the sound in the right ear. He has 2 ears. First he receives in the right ear. How does he receive? By the sound waves coming directly from the loudspeaker through the air. So he receives here. Then what happens? What happens to his left ear? He receives sound in the left ear by the sound waves coming directly from the wall. Because the sound waves get reflected from the wall and those sound waves he receives. So basically he receives the sound waves from here, and the same sound waves when they reflect back from the wall, he receives them. So this is basically the reflections. So John receives sound in the right ear, since his right ear is facing the loudspeaker, by the sound waves coming from loudspeaker. Whereas he receives in the left ear, he receives sound in the left ear from sound waves reflected from the wall of the classroom. So this is the echo effect which he studied.